Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me here in my shop. Today is June 8th, a cloudy and kind of cold day outside. I can't smell any smoke today, but that's, it comes and goes. There's a great website if you want to know where the smoke is blowing and where it's expected to go. It's a great website called, you know what? I'm going to show it to you before I get going on this radio. This will be a fairly short video anyway. But let me get that up on the screen here. Okay, so this is a website called Firesmoke.ca. Of course, the .ca is for Canada. And you can see the smoke at different levels. You see how much smoke there is right in this area. This is kind of where I am. So it's hard to see the map under the smoke. Isn't that kind of not surprising? So here's Lake Ontario, the city of Toronto, and my location is right in this area here. Now this can play forward. You have to look at the dates down here. It covers, I think, about 3 days. It's a fairly long prediction. But there you can see the smoke as it advances over Canada and the United States. Most of it's coming out of Quebec here. And the wind, oddly enough, is blowing in the wrong direction. It doesn't usually blow from here to here. It's usually blowing from here over this way. And it would just kind of blow this smoke out into the ocean, but not right now. Actually, you can see it's changing direction here and starting to move north. So anyway, I think this is a very helpful website. You can look at firesmoke.ca. Okay, now focusing on this radio. So something interesting happened, and that if I bring the camera up close here, you see that number there? B8B62E, which I would think would be the identification number for this plate. There's another number down here. Remember that number? 8B62E. Let's go look at something here. Okay, so let's start with this website, which I found a couple days ago, and 1930s Phonola radio, and then in brackets, T. Eaton Company, Electrohome, Common, Dominion Industries. This is wrong. This should be Dominion Electrohome. That's one company, Dominion Electrohome Industries. No mention of the other company, Universal, but it's mentioning Phonola. There's the radio. The knob arrangement is different, and this is a single band, single AM band. The cabinet is different, similar size but different. And this is the power supply the guy developed. Now there's a look in the radio. The radio chassis is identical to the one here in the outer shape of the chassis. Where the tubes are and what kind of tubes, that's different. That's different. That's different. That's his power supply going by. You can get a good look at the radio. A lot of similarities, but it's different than the one I have. So here, looking at these two schematics, they give you two. Did you see it? Did you see that number yet? These are all 1-volt tubes. Well, maybe not these. These 1F4, 1A4. These are 1-volt tubes. Actually, they run with 1.5 volts on the heater, which is perfect for a lead-acid battery or a battery of some sort anyway, to power these tubes. So we got this version of it, it still has these 1-volt tubes. Now, the radio I have has 6-volt tubes. 6-volt tubes and a 1-volt radio. How'd they pull that off? So, the number to take a look at, though, is that one right there, 7B62E. And the number on the front plate I read to you earlier is 8B62E. 8B. So why not search for 8B? Okay, let's do that. Hey, here it is. 8B62E. Here we are. Phonola. It says Phonola. Well, look at the tube numbers. They're all these 1-volt tubes, which you would expect. This one's completely 1-volt tubes. And so is this one. But the radio I have in front of me is completely 6-volt tubes. How's that happen? How's it go? How's it go there? Would we think they once made this radio with 1-volt tubes, and then they updated it to the same sort of thing, only done with a version based on 6-volt tubes? Or did the guy who altered the radio I'm working on alter it to the point where he could swap out all these 1-volt tubes? I can't believe it. With 6-volt tubes and then power them up? If he's done that, then he has completely altered this radio. It is not what it was. I just don't think you can take a 1C7G and find a matching 6-volt tube you can pop into the socket. Or can you? I've never even thought about it. Because why would you stick a 6-volt tube in a 1-volt radio? You wouldn't. Yeah, unless you were at the point where you were contriving your own heater supply. The heaters are quite independent of the radio in most cases. Maybe you could switch them to 6-volt tubes and put 6 volts onto the heater line, and there you are. But you'd have to get tubes that work the same as all these. That's a long, long shot. Plus, am I wrong? The sockets wouldn't work. Maybe they would. Maybe these are all 7-pin. Probably octal tubes, similar to what's in the radio. Well, it's a real mystery. It's really quite a mystery. Now look at the tube layout here. It's not the same. You only have one diagram for tube layout. Here's the battery arrangement here. This is an 8B61S. Caution. So the tubes are not laid out like that. I'm looking to see now. They are in a delta with one towards, and so these are in a delta position here, like a triangle, and then there's one more tube out here. There's different arrangement, different radio, different. But it has that same number, 8B62E. I'm looking at it again, 8B62E. That's the number. That's the number on the dial plate. Okay, let's take a look at the radio for a minute here. Well, I mean, if somebody did that, assuming there are not directly swappable tubes, I don't know at this point. I'll have to investigate this. But did the manufacturers come up with one? Maybe they came up with a set and said, "Well, here's some 6-volt tubes. Do the same thing as those 1-volt tubes." For those of you who want to stick a transformer on the outside of your radio, there are tubes with different numbers that are essentially identical inside. Typical thing would be like a 6BA6 and a 12BA6. They're identical inside, except the heater voltage is different. Well, and then you could also get tubes which are similar. You can look in your tube manual, look through a tube that has the same statistics or similar statistics, and do a swap that way. There's consequences to all this. Swapping out all the tubes in here, unless there are special tubes designed for this purpose, which, yeah, I don't think there are. This would be quite a hairy undertaking. It goes way beyond just putting in this circuit here into something that's almost terrifying to consider. And why would somebody do all that work and then leave these wax capacitors in? That's just, okay, so if they did do something like that, then we would see lots of soldering and stuff going on these tube sockets. So let's switch cameras and look for evidence of extensive work. Did the guy do extensive work in here? I don't think so. I don't think so. We'll just start on this top tube here. My camera's not focusing here. Okay, give me a second. Just bear with me while I have to bring up the Oh, the autofocus is working, but we don't want the autofocus. The autofocus, see what it's doing? Can't make up its mind. So we're going to freeze it here. Get my mouse on the right spot. Come on. Okay. There we go. Now it's not going to refocus. Good. So just picking on a tube, pick on this one. Did every pin get soldered? Why would every pin have to be soldered? Because changing of components to accommodate a different set of tubes. Wow. That's a heck of a schmozzle there. Well, that's on top of a terminal strip. But you know, this stuff has all been resoldered. That's why it looks like that. Well, look, there's a new resistor, that bluish resistor is added in, or replacement. Oh my gosh, this radio could be so heavily altered. They do look like they've been fiddled with. Some kind of en masse job done here. Oh boy. Look at right. Now look at that. So you see the 3 terminals in a row there, and you can see there's a wire. It's actually this black wire. Comes along, goes through the terminal, through that terminal, and then over here. So this is a factory technique where they run a single wire through a number of terminals, but they don't run them through and then lightly solder them like that. In fact, this terminal that's in the center here with a black wire coming to it, it looks as if it was never soldered on before. Oh my gosh, did you replace the sockets? No way. Okay, so there's a rivet holding the socket in place. This would be buy a new radio time. I mean, nobody would, even changing the tubes, it's kind of crazy. It would be crazy. Well, unless somebody really loved that radio. And, you know, it's a nice looking radio, it's true. But there's no reason to love it this much. Oh my gosh. Let's go way down here. The difficulty with this, if it has been heavily altered, now we're down in an area where, well, these are 6-volt tubes again. I tested them all at 6 volts. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's not enough. Let's just keep going on another topic. And that is the antenna signal, or the signal I fed in yesterday, and the antenna seemed to only go a distance into the radio. Now, admittedly, I got a little confused. I had the band switch in the wrong place. This is the band switch. So I want to look at it very closely. I'm looking for the quality of the contact. Looks like it's very good. You can see some of the contacts swinging up and down, indicating the springiness of them. And the ones that aren't going up and down, because they never leave their surface, they're probably under spring tension. The switch has gone black, but the area where the contacts is made looks pretty good. Is this possibly part of the dead radio on shortwave? A lot of play in the switch here. Well, that piece in the middle, that almost has to look like it should be twisted 90 degrees and locked in there. No, maybe not. Okay, so down at the bottom here, let's start over here where my red clip lead is clipped. You see a red wire. That's carrying the antenna signal from the terminal on the back of the radio all the way across. That's the same wire there. I'm going to wiggle it. Yeah, that's it. And it comes up, comes into the switch. We really wanted to track where. So the camera has its limitations. So following as best as possible. It's connected to nothing in this position? Oh, maybe so. This is the phono. Sure enough, in the phono position, the antenna is disconnected. This is the broadcast AM position, and this is the shortwave position. So look what it's doing. So it's switching from, in these two positions, it's switching to the wire to the right or the wire to the left. Okay, so we'll put it in AM position, it's switching down to this wire. And where's that going? Well, so I'm not going to trace this out here on video because it's just going to be ooh, what's that? Capacitor doing there. Is that a capacitor? Sure looks like one. Okay, and I overreacted there. It was an overreaction. Probably some of these wires are coming over to these coils. Two of these coils are going to be the oscillator coil. They're probably this one and this one are the oscillator coil, and then the antenna coil is tipped at 90 degrees to them so they don't interact. And it's sitting down here. Probably. There's a whole row of capacitors here. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. You can see the holes in the chassis, so you can stick a screwdriver in from the outside and adjust these guys. So these would be oscillator adjustments. These two capacitors are in parallel. Well, that's a little odd. Anything over here? Parallel, or maybe this is the grounded side of things. I don't know. The coil like this can suffer a failure. These big ones, not likely. Look at the wire. I mean, it's not going to fail. But these guys can fail. There's actually there's 3 coils here. So my guess is that there's an antenna coil for both the shortwave and for broadcast. And why there's 3 there, you got me. Now, is that soldering way down at the bottom there? Does that look like fairly fresh soldering way down there? It does. It does have a look of freshness. That's way down in the bottom of the radio. Who's down there fooling around? Why would they fool around in here? What's this got to do with the... Oh my gosh. Wow. And I'm just looking at, basically the wire comes in the radio, hits a switch, and I'm totally preoccupied by that. Hello, Shadow. What's happening today? Why are you in here calling for me? The last thing I'm going to do is take a look at my cat, Shadow. Uh-oh, the other cat. I'm being ganged up on. Uh-oh. Ooh, they don't usually get that scrappy. Hey, what's with you guys? Huh, come on. You're upset because it's not sunny, it's not warm. Peanut. Yeah, he's ignoring me. Okay, that was the exciting part of the video. That was it. I'm going to stop at this point because too much here to think about. I got crazy thoughts. Tubes changed. Oh my gosh, crazy thoughts. I don't know what to make of it. So I'm going to stop. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll scratch our head some more on this. But how do we even approach this? But I dare not make any changes to it until I've got a few of these big issues settled. Like, what's going on? Yeah, that's a big issue. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye.